Hey, folks, and welcome to a daily rating special. We're calling this one Essential Cooking Movies Part 1. Yes, Vincent Daly is watching, rating, and reviewing some of the most popular and well-rated films around food, and most importantly, the cooking of food. So on the list today, we are covering Tampopo from 1985, directed by Juzo Itami. We then have Babette's Feast from 1987, directed by Gabriel Axel. We have 96's Big Night by Campbell Scott and Stanley Tucci. We have 2007's Ratatouille by Brad Bird and co-directed by Jan Penkava. And lastly, we are covering The Taste of Things from 2023, directed by An Hung Tran. So it is going to be a great special. Everybody get their aprons on, have a seat, and let's get Vincent Daly in here to talk about these great cooking movies. Mr. Vincent Daly, how are we doing over there, my friend?
How's it going?
It's going okay for me. How you feeling? You full? You feel good after all this food you've been consuming here?
I was going to start with too many cooks in the kitchen, but it's just you and me.
So we took you out of the theater this week.
Yo, and thank God.
We had a bit of a soft week because of, I think after Thunderbolts, we just nobody wanted to release anything major just in case.
Yeah.
So we had this open week, so we were like, you know what? Let's just do a special because we don't get a chance to do many specials anymore.
Absolutely. And this cooking special had some traction. We
in our minds, yeah.
Yeah.
It's true.
We kind of were like slowly building it together, and I thought it was just a great idea to do because it's not really something that people have commented on in a big way. So I really loved this week of movies. So I'm glad that we were able to kind of pull this together.
Absolutely, and I think that even last week I said, how am I going to name this? Do we do part 1? I'm really glad we're naming this part 1 because even doing research of some of these films,
sure,
I think there's more already on our, well, there's one we wanted on the list.
Yeah.
But we kind of already had to start cutting that.
Sure.
So this is, again, like I said in the intro, you know, these are well-received, and when you think cooking movies, a lot of people will go to these. And maybe Tampopo and Babette's Feast, I think maybe aren't known too much, but I think in the critic world,
yes,
and around people, critic ones who know food and all that, they like those two a lot. So there's some on the floor, but that's why there's going to be a part 2 in the future. And even we had a late minute edition.
Yes, we did. Thank God you
with
did it.
with our rat friend. I texted you and I was just like, should we? I literally said, should we do Ratatouille? I said, not joking, and you were like, so on board.
Oh,
like
yeah.
No convincing.
Absolutely, because I think I was excited on my level as far as like animation goes. Brad Bird. I mean, I'm always excited to cover his stuff.
Yeah, you're a Bird fan.
But also like, we needed a mascot for the episode. Babette wasn't making it to the YouTube thumbnail. Let's just say that. So I think,
And she didn't, by the way. My YouTube thumbnail is done.
Nice.
Actually pretty pleased with it, by the way.
No, that's good.
I did some work on it.
But yeah, why don't we talk about some of what didn't make the cut for this and potentially will be for part 2?
Sure, yeah, absolutely. The one especially you had.
Yeah, the one I've had on my list, completely separate from it being a food movie or not, is Eat, Drink, Man, Woman from 1994. This is a classic movie from Ang Lee, but was benched because it's in licensing hell.
Hard to find.
Yeah, classic case of, impossible to find. I briefly considered getting a physical copy, but I was just like, no, we have enough fuel in the tank to do a part 2 of this sometime down the road. I think it was really good to, maybe keep that as a heavy hitter.
I mean, really, it was Ratatouille that bumped that out.
Yeah.
And I think also, that came out of China, correct? Was that a Beijing-made film?
I'm not sure. I actually don't know what nationality Ang Lee is.
It could be why it was having... While we're having licensing issues.
Yeah, maybe. It's so crazy, too, because I saw, like, 2 posts about it on Instagram. I was like, wow,
it gets super good reviews, too.
Yeah.
It's very highly rated.
It was on, like, my big list forever, just as a random movie.
Right.
Not even in connection to Ang Lee. Some other ones, both The Menu and Pig are 2 recent great food movies that we've covered on the podcast already. Potentially, those could be in the cut for later down the road.
I could see it from The Menu, potentially. You brought that up with Pig, where it's like, is it a cooking movie? There's food movies and cooking movies.
Yeah, true.
And Pig I think I said it in the podcast. There's like 3 main scenes. There's 3 main scenes.
Right.
That's the only thing with that movie.
Yeah, I think
They're beautiful scenes, some of them. But.
Absolutely. I think when it comes to Pig, it's just that it's about maybe the cooking experience. I mean, we're kind of getting into a little spoilers of that, but there is something true to that, which I think all of these movies touch on a little bit. Really, there are plenty of movies out there that tackle the business of running a restaurant. Food truck stories like Chef, Michelin star focused movies.
I got a hot take on that movie. But yeah.
We'll save it
for the thing.
Yeah. I mean, Michelin star type of projects like Burnt or even FX's The Bear.
Even Jiro.
Yes, a documentary.
Yeah, it's a doc.
Yeah.
The Bear says, if you're bringing up with the Bear, I can bring up a doc.
Yeah, absolutely. But I think that really does make the cut because, or at least has something in the race for what this could be for essential. I think that's really where it boils down to why we both kind of have nerves about it, is that we want the essential title for these specials, this series of specials, to really, hit it home of just like, this is like the list.
This is the list and kind of the industry list. Mm-hmm. I mean, my thinking, because when I watch some of these, I'm thinking, oh boy, would I call this essential? But then you read about it, you see the history of it, you see how well it's loved, and you know what I mean, that kind of stuff. We're putting our thumb on it for sure.
Absolutely.
Any more on that list?
Well, I have one that you might disagree with, but I mean, I kind of disagree with it.
Okay.
I'm not one to shout out comedies or anything like that, especially comedies including Ryan Reynolds. He's off the boat.
It's okay. I'm white knuckling it.
I came across in research for this, and I've obviously not obviously, but I have seen this movie, Waiting, from 2005.
Never even heard of this. My God.
Yes,
This is the diner one?
No, not the diner. It's like a TGI Fridays kind of.
Oh, okay, all right.
But I could see an argument for including this because, all of these don't really touch on the hell that is food service.
Yeah.
And I feel like that is an important piece in the puzzle here.
I'm not going to say it's not.
Yeah. So
we can open up this umbrella as wide as we want.
Exactly.
I mean, at this point.
The restaurant biz is messy. It has a lot of different heads to it, but...
and the important thing is we also want critically reviewed. Like, the idea isn't, hey, let's pull every single cooking
food
thing, but we want to do, like, the good one. Hence essential.
Yeah.
Ryan Reynolds, I don't think is essential in anything, in my opinion. But I'm willing to hear you out next time we approach this.
Listen, I all I remember about that movie is it being, a real glimpse into the backside of kitchens.
Okay, fair enough.
So, but that's about it. Did you have any more?
Well, I think you're forgetting one, which would be Juliet and Juliet.
So true.
It's funny. I was talking to my brother this past weekend, and I don't even know. I don't think I'm the one who brought it up. He brought it up, and there's a clip online, or they watched a version of Juliet and Juliet where they just take out what's her face's scenes.
Okay.
Who we love. Amy Adams scenes.
Yes.
They literally take her scenes out, and it's like one of the best movies ever. Because you know the premise of Juliet Juliet.
No, I actually don't.
Okay, so
I know it's maybe I don't. I'm forgetting her name.
It's Helen Mirren. Helen Mirren?
No.
No, not Helen Mirren. Oh my word! It's Meryl Streep doing Julia Childs. And it's like flashbacks of how she came up and her time in France and learning this and compiling her cookbook.
Sure.
And then Amy Adams' character, who I think is also Juliet because that's Juliet and Juliet, she made it upon herself in the early blogging scene that every single day she will go through her cookbook.
Interesting.
And cook a meal from it. But the funny thing is, and Stanley Tucci's in it, by the way.
Of course he is.
But there's very distinct. It is 2 different movies because you have one story than the other.
Sure.
And when you I can see how it's like if you cut out Amy Adams. Because I told my brother, I was just like, I just love Amy Adams. I love her. But it's anyway. That should probably be on there as well for maybe an essential part 2.
And also Julia Childs, a essential figure.
Essential figure, and being played by Meryl Streep.
Sure.
Wait, yes, Meryl Streep.
I think so.
Yes.
I'm pretty sure.
She actually did like a really good job.
Yeah.
Well, she won the Oscar for that, I think.
I'm not sure off the top of my head, but I do remember some buzz for that movie.
We'll get it right in the next special.
We'll get it.
But that's all I have.
It again.
The only thing is, I know we're missing. Like we have nothing on here. Tampopo is 85. I'm glad we're going through the decades since the 80s.
Yeah, that was another thing. Like
what in the 30s and the 40s, 50s.
Absolutely, there is a huge gap here of potential movies that are just like not on our radar at all.
And on most people's radar.
Yeah.
I don't think people go back that far enough.
Absolutely.
There's got to be some.
Yeah.
I mean, you could. Well, So, go ahead.
Well, I was just going to say, I mean, folks, if you find that something is missing from this list, whether you think it deserves to be in part 1, part 2, whatever, we really, truly would love to hear you.
Reach out. Yeah,
this.
absolutely.
Because this was already kind of a collaborative effort as far as your recommendations. One recommendation from producer Adam for Babette's Feast. There was already kind of an aspect of like bringing together dishes for this.
Yeah.
So I was really happy to, have recommendations. So happy to hear from you.
Little accoutrement. Yeah. Do you think that The Man Who Shot Liberty Valance could count?
Ooh, what's your argument?
Well, I mean, it takes place in a bar. You've got what's Jimmy Stewart living in the kitchen of the place.
That's true, and it's a lot of
That's my
steaks.
steak, Valance. You know what I mean?
It's a lot of steaks. I mean, at that point, I would say maybe Twisters for that T-bone.
Yeah, it was T-bone and eggs, right?
Yeah.
Is that a cow? Okay, let's. Any opening notes on these films, Ben?
Yeah.
Did you have a good time, by the way?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely.
I was going to make sure that your brain, you're still with us here.
Right. I'm still on the ride. This special is going to basically start with 2 movies that are new to both of us, because I believe Tampopo was on your birthday list, but you didn't tackle it yet. Is that right?
Well, correct. Exactly. You're exactly right.
Okay, perfect. That's going to be followed by what I'll call 2 classics, and then we'll finish with something we both loved from last year, which of course is Taste of Things, which we already reviewed and
we talked about it at Tom Daly's, but it needed to be on here.
Absolutely. But with that said, that's about it. All I have for pre-notes.
Okay, so let's jump back to Japan in 1985. The film is called Tampopo. There were actually some actors in this movie that we have seen before in things, but this is a film that we really wasn't on our radar until Birthday Ep, and I've got a lot of skin in this one.
Yeah.
This was on my list. It was whiplash for you when I brought it up as a birthday potential.
What's going on? Yeah.
The director is Yuzo Itami. I don't know exactly. We haven't covered him before.
No.
But this is highly praised as a good food movie and wasn't anything close near us at all.
No.
I know I was excited to sit down and watch it. It is on HBO Max, so super accessible. Let's jump into it. We will go back and forth on all of these, but set the film up and we'll talk about it.
Yeah, well, I mean, where to even begin with this one? I texted you right away, Tom, after finishing this. I was thrilled with this movie. This was like, wow, almost one of a kind, I would say.
Yeah.
It is described as a satire food movie, which I kind of guess is pretty accurate.
And a Western.
Yeah, it is a little bit of
the
Western.
director wanted to make he dubbed it a ramen Western instead of a spaghetti Western.
That's great.
And I think that's why the main character was cowboy hat and a flannel.
He's a trucker, so he's kind of that man with no name.
That's how they wanted to approach it, though. This is the director's idea. Anyway, he wanted to approach it like an American Western, but a Japanese food movie. And so right off the bat, we're in a weird vibe.
Oh, yeah. It is all over the place, but in a really wonderful way. Let me just say, I would have had zero regrets covering this for the birthday episode. In fact, the beginning starts with a ranting Japanese gangster yelling at people for being too loud in a movie theater.
This was my guy.
I couldn't think of a better spirit animal, a spirit movie. Maybe we can come up with a concept for you.
Do you remember what I said on the birthday episode? Do you remember when I said this film?
No.
I said there's a short little beginning to this thing. I said almost a la Tom Cruise, like enjoy the movie, real jets, real G's. And I said, I think my line was, I just feel really understood by this film.
Yeah. Boy, man, it really would have been perfect. I mean, this is your spirit movie.
The guy threats to kill somebody because he's chewing his chips too loud. I mean, that's where it's at right there.
It's so great. Such a really great recurring character, too, that Japanese gangster. Like you said, Tom, this comes from writer-director Juzo Itami, who had a short but beloved career in Japanese cinema, only to tragically end his own life. This story around why is a rabbit hole that I was very interested in diving into, but we don't really have time to unpack that, and it's not really appropriate for the food special, considering he's not like, all of his movies aren't food movies or something like that. But with this being the first film that we've covered from Itami on the podcast, maybe a director's study is down the road to cover the highlights and maybe some of these messier details of his life, because it really was an interesting story. Like I said, though, Tampopo is a satirical food movie that has close to a dozen mini segments strung throughout it to show how food affects our life. The core of the story, however, is mostly a comedy about getting a ramen shop up and running for a sweet, hardworking mother. The art of ramen making has been romanticized for as long as the noodles have existed, and this movie is a love letter to exactly that. We are introduced to two truckers, Goro and Gun, that are more so wandering ramen cowboys, experts because of the passion for what goes into their mouth. They agree to train a single mother named Tampopo in the ways of ramen to save her struggling business. This training covering so much more than just cooking, though. Slowly, they start collecting patrons and allies, all rooting for Tampopo to grow into a thriving ramen shop owner and create a noodle experience that passes their rigorous tests. Her friendship with these men grow into a deep respect, and beautifully, the film captures what so many great Japanese stories are about: determination to get better each day. I mean, I can't believe I'm saying this, but I think the comedy might be my highlight of this.
Oh, that doesn't surprise me.
Yeah, I was really thrilled with just how cute and how funny and not Japanese comedy this felt like. This felt like a Mel Brooks style comedy where its silliness is the joke.
Okay, that's interesting.
I really loved how just like offbeat what what all the jokes felt like. It was heartwarming and funny, but it just worked because it had just a huge variety to work with.
And it wasn't trying to be, I mean, I labeled this as comedy. It's not trying to be a full-blown food comedy or anything like that, but it's in there. The humor and wit is in there.
Absolutely.
I was a little, I mean, talk about being like what? It also gets super sexual at one point. I'm just like, whoa. I'm just like,
2 times.
It's like super heartwarming, all of a sudden not heartwarming. I'm just like, wow, this guy's going for it.
Yeah, it's all.
Talk about I mean, that's whiplash.
Yeah, it was whiplash. At first, I didn't like it. After the second one came around, I did like it.
Okay, all right. And yeah, that was the guy that yells at us in the beginning of the movie.
Yeah.
And no, it does. Not a seesaw. It does take you through the different lines. A lot of different vignettes. And I will say, I think probably my favorite storyline was our biggest storyline here.
Yes.
Which I don't know if that's shocking or not, because that's one we're most involved with.
Yeah, it had the backbone to it.
And also the cutest.
Yeah, absolutely. Almost family friendly.
Yeah, legitimately.
Yeah.
It was, I would say, the funniest scene was a group of men sitting down and ordering food.
Yep.
I thought was really funny.
Oh, yes, absolutely.
And they crushed it. But it takes you through a roller coaster of cute, charming, hypersexual, witty.
I guess in that sense, it's not too different than Japanese
right.
stuff.
I wasn't expecting it, by the way.
Yeah.
I think 3/4 in, I said to myself, I think Vin really likes this.
Yeah. There was, I mean, when you're watching the film, folks, for the first time, which is probably going to be all of you, it takes a bit to settle in with this structure because it's like, well, what the hell's going on? Who am I following and whatnot? But
I love that part of it.
Absolutely. The variety. I mean, this was so up my alley. This jumps around to the sketches and side stories, giving spotlights to another culinary perspective, whether it's food culture, or the people that eat it. And I'm not kidding when I say not a single one of these misses. I mean, even the hypersexualized ones, I feel like serve a purpose in a way.
There's weaker ones and stronger ones, but you're right where they all make you feel a certain something.
Yeah. It's a spectrum of emotions that keep the experience fresh, for one, in a way that like an anthology might be fresh to jump from story to story. But more often than not, it has an interesting perspective to share to the audience. It has each one of these, you're kind of walking away with a little takeaway. Maybe it's not like the most mind-blowing takeaway, but you're walking away with some insight, which was just so wonderful.
One thing about the jumping around that I really liked is sometimes it's not just clear cuts where we go from place A to place B.
Sure.
Sometimes they're within the same scene. We have camera on a certain subject.
Yes.
And then the camera just goes to another person that comes across the screen.
Yep.
And now we're in this new story. I can't tell you how much I love that.
Yeah, it was so cool. The Japanese Yakuza gangster, like, same thing. Like, he's just, like, walking down the street, and it's like, oh, we snapped to his story a little bit there. So, just very, very creative. I mean, truly one of a kind. I was thrilled with it. This comedic side of it, though, I mean, believe me, like I joked, Japanese comedy can be real hit or miss sometimes, you know, but I felt these sketches had a silliness to it that worked in an endearing way more often than not, even though if I wasn't necessarily like out loud laughing or something like that. I just genuinely loved how cute the tone was in this, and for a solid hour, I was definitely saying, I mean, this worked in a family-friendly way that anyone could enjoy. That is up until the movie shows
until it didn't.
shows whipped cream on a tit. I mean, there's the handful of sketches, you know, the two main ones really dip outside of that comedic tone, and it gets very sexual. But while, you know, it might rule out an otherwise perfect family film, I mean, like,
It's just basically.
take those out, I think this works on, like, in a Disney way, even.
Oh,
you know?
well, look, yeah. I don't even think there's like cursing in it or anything like that. Yeah.
Exactly. I still loved these moments, these secondary vignettes, because the purpose of showing different sides of food that just wouldn't touch our main characters in the ramen shop are really, really great. I mean, talk about utilizing the time in you know, the runtime of this movie. Usually I don't have many casting notes with international movies, but one of our main actors is Ken Watanabe, which was genuinely a huge surprise. If the name doesn't stand out right away, I always remember him as the client Saito from Inception, or maybe even semi-recently from The Creator. I forgot who he was in The Creator, but... but from what I can tell, this is his first breakout role. He shares a lot of screen time.
He never plays a main role.
Yeah, he really doesn't. The allies that Tampopo builds up, they're like, you know, 5 dudes, all from different walks of life. It was cool to see a familiar face when so often, going back to these old movies, I mean, even when we did, not that it's Japanese, but even when we did the Bong Joon-ho episode, it's like, I spot one every now and again, but it was kind of nice.
Yeah, yep.
So, as we will with all these, let's talk about the food, though. As expected, this seriously waxes poetic about every single detail concerning ramen. The broth, how you eat it, even the placement of ingredients are all held in very high regard.
Loved it.
Yeah. Personally, I'm planning to go to Japan later on in this year, so maybe I can bring some of that appreciation with me. But because the film uses these sketches, a huge amount of culinary ground is covered, and is so much more than just one thing. This is not just ramen. This is how to eat spaghetti. This is ordering manners. This is so much. The scene you referenced with all the businessmen ordering.
Yeah.
I'm not the huge Office fan out of the two of us, but isn't that just the scene from The Office where they're all ordering chicken piccata or whatever? Like, it's the same sketch going around. They're all pressured into the business environment of that.
Yeah, I don't know if that's in The Office at all. Is that what you read online?
No. I remember this is when James Spader joined The Office. So later, maybe not prime Office.
Right,
but,
of course.
But it's the same sketch. One of my favorite scenes was detailing like the rival ramen shop owners as if they were a heist to plan around.
Yeah.
That was,
Everyone
I think,
is
my
trying
favorite.
to steal ingredients, trying to steal info. Yeah.
And you get just such like good Japanese overacting of just like sounding like warriors, but they're just ramen shop owners, you know. And honestly, I mean, someone alert TikTok. There is a flawless omurice scene in this. The omelet over the rice. I mean,
oh yeah.
He does the special cut and everything. The internet
poorly.
should
He does
be
that cut
freaking out over this.
He does that cut poorly, but totally.
I mean, the internet. I mean, go back to 2018. Everyone was talking about omurice.
Yeah,
like,
it was the hottest thing for a second.
Yeah, it's all right here. So I don't know. Do you have any standouts as far as food goes in this? Or
I like we're going to introduce something at the end of this, at the end of each film here.
Okay, all right.
But I really liked how heavy they get into ramen, first of all. And I do like how you get into different people's stories. You're touching on something a little bit different. And it just hits. You're so right about the omelet scene. and the spaghetti slurping scene. It's all good.
So
and probably the weakest, I'll just say the weakest kind of short vignette was the man eating the ice cream.
Oh, yeah.
It kind of was almost like gross, and he gave it to the girl, and it was like cute, but gross.
A little gross, yeah, a little bad touch.
So I liked it because in a way it was all over the place, and yet very specific at the same time. And I just think that's also Japan 1985, and they're focusing on these kinds of things.
Absolutely.
And yeah, I mean, I think I have a lot of my reaction is same to you. I don't know if I was as hot on it. Like I knew as soon as watching, I just knew that this was your movie.
Yeah, this is so up my alley.
But I think really well done. It's so easy to be a mess when you're jumping around to storyline after storyline.
So true.
And just taking us away constantly from the main story that we care about the most. It can be annoying and pointless, but each one is tastefully done, I think.
Yeah, and I think because it was structured in this way that the Tampopo story, the ramen story, was the backbone.
Yes.
And we kind of
Tampopo
branch
means
off.
dandelion, by the way.
Oh, really? I didn't know that. Okay.
Yeah. You didn't pick up on that?
No.
Okay, all right.
The way it branches off, it's different than like a anthology or collection of short stories where I always say those type of formats in the story, they're just doomed to comparison. Oh, I like this one better than this one.
Yeah.
Or this one was stronger than the next one.
That's kind of what I was doing, but yes. But the overall package I still like.
But I think like snapping back to one central story kind of fixed that a little bit for me.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Oh, yeah, 100%.
It wasn't a full restart on each of the new stories, you know.
Kind of like the Ballad of Buster Scruggs. Kind of too equally separating ourselves.
Yes.
Because there wasn't a main storyline for
No,
there,
that I would say is totally opposite end. That's full anthology, just a collection, you know.
And that's, I had issues with that.
Yes, you did. Yes, you did. Straight up, though, Tampopo has everything the other stories this week have going for them, all rolled up into one. The food itself, the culture of eating, the restaurant business. This movie paints a wonderful broad stroke to cover so much ground, and yet always has something insightful to say. The whole experience was just so full of life, and way more than I ever expected. It may be bold to say this about a comedy, folks, but it was about how we as humans exist and interact because of food, and this humorous approach to that topic never once stifled its reflections on life. We're going to go ahead and give Tampopo 1985 an 88.
Whoa! No way.
I'm telling you, I loved this movie.
What? An 88?
This is not only a must-watch.
Did I do good?
Yeah.
Did I do good? Wow. Extra bowl of ramen for 2 shoes tonight.
Yeah,
wow.
Absolutely. You finished the broth.
I wasn't expecting this.
I'm telling you, it was so unique and so one of a kind and so charming. I mean, I had to fight myself not giving it a higher score, honestly.
Dude, an 88%.
I'm
really?
telling you, I love this movie.
Wow.
This was, and that's where I said, like, boy,
this really is a special. This really is a special.
This would have been perfect to put in the birthday special as well.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, talk about a heavy hitter. Really great.
I can't, honestly, I'm shocked you liked it that much. and yet I'm not surprised after watching it.
Yeah.
Because it does scream you. Again, by the way, folks, I'm not going to give it a 2 shoes.
Mm-hmm.
I really did like this movie. Mm-hmm. I think it can be for a lot of people, even though as weird as it can be.
Oh, yeah.
There's something there. And maybe it's because it has enough cuteness to it.
Yeah.
Where it can be for a larger audience.
Absolutely.
But wow, 88%. It did feel different, which is cool. And the main character, Goru, by the way, I liked him a lot.
Oh, yeah.
He reminded me almost as a Japanese guy trying to be an American, acting like Crocodile Dundee almost.
Yeah, there's definitely some Crocodile Dundee.
The big time there's Crocodile
somewhere
Dundee.
in there, which is very odd.
And I was more than okay with
maybe
it.
Crocodile Dundee is a Western, so...
But sometimes what I love so much about Japanese culture and when it comes around Japanese food things, and extending far beyond even in Jiro Dreams of Sushi, but the care and effort that a single thing can be put into.
Absolutely.
That can even be for Japanese culture around bonsai trees, just the dedication to a thing. And that comes across on screen. And I don't know, that's very nice. It's almost relatable or aspirational.
Yeah.
To see that. I love the ramen parts of this movie, big time.
Absolutely. That's really where I was going to dig into this movie for those two very sexual scenes, because it's like otherwise I would show this to almost literally anyone. You know, I mean, I really would. Like,
it is a
has
shocking
so
turn.
much going for it, and then it's just like I liked those scenes, but I didn't like them in the way that I was liking the rest of the movie.
Because every single other storyline or vignette was a kind of a feel-good, cutesy thing.
Absolutely.
And it was a big old change.
And again, you know, it's trying to paint a very broad stroke of like, this is how we interact with food as humans.
I
you know,
totally
it's
get it.
Almost philosophical, but you know, I guess food play is a thing, but like just really, it's a whiplash. You know,
And you can't take those guys out of the movie because that's the main guy in the beginning of the movie that
that's the
tells
gangster.
that sets the standards.
Absolutely.
Wow, 88%, Vin. That's the biggest one. That's the biggest score this year, and with a very high score on the site.
I
that's
love
like
this.
top 20 movies on the daily ratings right now, folks. Like I said, it's on Max. Very, very accessible. Go and watch it if you're interested in it. And wow, okay, very good. So the scale I want to bring in a scale.
Okay.
It's the food appreciation scale.
Okay.
So how much did the actual movie itself appreciate food and make food essential aspect to the film?
I mean, this has to be a 9 or a 10, you know, as far as like how much it like waxes poetic about just ramen.
Well, I understand that scale. We're gonna use my scale.
Okay.
So,
I cut you off.
it's just 1 to 5 ramens. That's all.
Oh, okay. This gets 5 ramen.
Okay, 5 ramens.
And
Very
the
good.
broth
Yay, 5 ramens. And at the end, because at the end of this, we'll be able to say which out of these 5 movies actually appreciates food. If you want a food movie, which one has the most appreciation towards the act of food making?
Right. Yeah.
Okay, 5 ramens it gets. Very good. Ramen's good. I don't know. I just said ramen's the first film. Whatever. Okay, so let's jump to just 2 years after. Now we're in 1986. Yeah.
Yes.
1987. Mm-hmm. This film it's a Danish film.
Yes.
I like that we're kind of going around the world.
Yeah.
We got Japan, we got Danish, we got the US, we got France. Babette's Feast, directed by Gabriel Axel. It is a full-on Danish film.
Yes.
With a hint of French, I guess. That's it.
Well, yeah, Babette's French.
Right.
So.
Why don't you start the review?
Yeah.
I knew nothing about this. This came on my radar when you brought it up when we were talking about the special.
Sure.
I'm a little bit perplexed by this film. In ways I absolutely love it, and in ways I'm like, I'm not so sure about this one.
Sure. I was actually thinking of you while watching this and thinking that you might appreciate just the hardcore history to it, you know, like the just like it's really they're in a mud hole somewhere in the Danish countryside, you know. It's like, whoa, all right. But I'm with you. For a while, I was sweating bullets a little bit.
Yeah, it's like, where's Babette? Where's the feast? That was coming up in my mind.
But yeah, hopefully some of the intro here can kind of give some appreciation because it's an interesting story of why this came about.
Yeah, you build it up a little bit and we'll take it.
Absolutely. Well, like I said in the very intro, this was a recommendation from one of our producers of the show, Adam, and alongside your recommendations, Tom, made this special a nice collaborative effort. You know, I'll talk about it, and like I just said, I was sweating bullets if this had enough of a food connection worth including in the special, but not only does it have a big payoff to this cooking angle for the story, I also got to thinking, what better way to illustrate bringing many dishes together for a feast than having a few you didn't cook yourself. Much like our last film, I got no experience with our writer-director Gabriel Axel, but this movie seemed to be his claim to fame, as adapting this story was a dream of his for many years. This comes from a collection of stories by the author Karen Blixen, the book titled Anecdotes of Destiny, giving us this film in 1987, as well as 1968's The Immortal Story by Orson Welles. As recognition for the history books, Babette's Feast was the first Danish film to ever win an Oscar, and was really only made a reality by a previous Oscar winner. Blixen's most famous work as an author, Out of Africa, achieved huge success 2 years earlier, sweeping the awards, and what do you know, connected to Meryl Streep as well.
Oh, okay.
So
it was, by the way, the Academy Award it won was for Best Foreign Language Film.
Yes. As far as Babette's feats go, it is a period piece set in 1800s Denmark, nestled in the cold, religious, and rural countryside. Much like our next film, Big Night, it gets a spot on the special for backloading a magnificent cooking sequence as the climax for the film. We follow two sisters, Martine and Philippa, that are daughters of the village pastor and hold a deep respect for the congregation they live with. Once simple and striking beauties, we see many who are captivated with them come through the town, only to be turned away because of their devout nature. After some time, a simple French maid named Babette has come to work for them, now matrons of the town, but she quickly becomes who they admire through hard work. Babette works faithfully for 14 years and brings some class to this mud hole, improving everyone's life she touches with her food. Babette has one desire: to thank the sisters for the years of fulfillment, however, to host a real French dinner, the likes of which they have never seen. When a glimmer of good fortune shines through for Babette, she sets out to make that dream into a reality, as cooking for her is a joy nothing could replace. I think that's really where it makes the cut, though, is like backloading this big dinner, which essentially is Big Night. Actually, rewatching Big Night, there's plenty of food talk. There's plenty of recipes throughout it, but it really comes down to the climax for these stories being a dinner, you know?
For sure. But this one, I think, had the least amount of... Actually, well, I'll touch on... Later in the episode, we'll talk about something. But you're right. It's very present in Big Night. Constantly, food is very present. Mm-hmm. Now, this film, it's not always very present. There's a little bit of talk here, there. They explain how to make a kind of a bread stout soup, which I would love to almost try.
Stop. That's supposed to directly contrast the wonderful feast towards the end.
So that there's hints of it and everything like that, but it takes a back seat for a lot of the time.
Yes. Yeah.
But I agree that it is recognized as a thing. Like, this film is known. I mean, we had a producer reach out about it. So I think it's good that we're talking about it, because people should know what kind of they're walking into.
Sure.
I was for, 40 minutes kind of being like,
where's the feast?
Where's the feast? And more so just, where is more of the food talk?
Sure.
That's the one thing, because I watched this after Tampopo, and there's so much food talk.
Oh, right.
To the point where it's like, you get hungry, you wish you had a bowl of ramen in front of you. This movie, you're watching a normal movie.
Yeah,
absolutely. For a decent amount of it.
Yeah. Of course, I haven't really read the source material on this one, but the narration we are given feels very faithful to Blixen's voice as a writer, and if not taken directly from the book. Without a doubt, I think that's where my biggest praise sits on, like, this being a movie rather than a food movie. I really did love the film's storytelling and how these characters' lives are woven together. There's a lot of years that pass through it, and not that we see everyone in detail, but it was interesting seeing the story really pieced together for this. It's a slow burn, but we understand so much through this narration and its occasional wit that comes through, especially in the emotion of these three women, where two of them are so unbelievably religious, they have really trouble showing their feelings, even at their most grateful. But if I'm being honest, the first half of this movie, it might bore you to tears.
I just think be prepared for it.
Yeah.
Like, for me, I don't know if this was in the back of your head. Doubleheader, Banshees of Inisherin.
Oh, that is a doubleheader.
I mean, it just is. And the fact that you have two men focused in Banshees of Inisherin, you have two women focused on this one. I mean, these movies go hand in hand.
Yeah, I like that. I like that a lot.
And I loved it how, the reason why I really liked this movie wasn't really necessarily about the food. It was the weirdness. I mean, it was such a non-American movie.
Oh, for sure.
And the way it was made and where we're at, I kind of liked it, because it was different. Yeah. And it was a unique pacing. It was unique. How much do we care about this guy coming in the picture or not? And I don't know, different formulation, and that part was appreciated.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's why I think when I was watching it, I thought of you, just because it is. I mean, it's not your normal, even like a period piece. A lot is covered, a lot is thrown away even.
Yeah.
So very interesting. But trust me, folks, this slow, rural, purposefully boring life we see will contrast the unimaginable joy these villagers will experience with Babette's wonderful meal. I loved how before the dinner there was a brief flash of satanic panic when the guests were imagining, what they were going to have to eat. A very cute moment. But once again, much like my personal favorite from the week, Big Night, I love just setting up everything for this single unforgettable meal. It may not be the most satisfying kind of story structure to it, but I like just the sharp build-up.
I like that slam bam finish.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
It really, it does have it has some razzle-dazzle to it. Mm-hmm. I just wish we got some glimpses into Babette's cooking a bit more.
Yes.
Maybe we see her sneak a villager something a little nicer than usual, or slowly try to open up the sisters to new things. Maybe
what's breakfast? How's the day start? Give us a day start. How does Babette make breakfast?
Yeah, absolutely. Because she clearly has this desire to, create joy through her cooking. There's also a 14-year gap that we don't really see how she interacts with that, how she is fulfilled. In that way,
yeah, that's so true.
Yeah,
it could be it could be her in the kitchen alone, cracking a smile or something.
Absolutely. Some moment where she hears the enjoyment of the food or something like that. It is in a little bit of an older film with that. I don't know if a food enjoyment montage would really be appropriate, but that would be my really only criticism on this. Practically fasting till we get to the finale or not, let's talk about the food. Much like our last slot this week, The Taste of Things, this shows cooking in just such a simplistic and rudimentary way that it kind of draws you into just how painstaking it would be to make a great meal. And this is several degrees more basic to boot. I mean, this is might as well be not caveman cooking, but medieval cooking.
Kind of,
very, very basic. The degree of French cuisine we see on screen is on a different level by today's standards, so let me just put that there. But the context of pulling it off back then is so impressive, and I think worth appreciating for, thinking about when this was coming out as well. Not many food movies around, at least to our research.
Seriously, yeah.
Kind of an interesting way to compose this. That's almost like the challenge for the character. To how do you pull off such an amazing meal?
One thing I was thinking about whenever we were sitting at the table and all the plates were set, I was like, how does she keep all that warm?
Yeah, true.
How does she keep that to temp? Wow.
Yeah. The feast itself has plenty of standouts, especially with every course having a wine pairing, but the star of the show is undoubtedly Babette's signature dish, quail in sarcophagus, or, get ready for it. You usually handle the French pronunciations. Khalil and Sakurvaj. Oh, that's so terrible.
Great, fantastic. You know what? After that, we could probably all spell it out easy.
Yeah. Oh, man.
What is it in English, though?
This is quail in sarcophagus. Basically, quail in a puff pastry, kind of, and wrapped in, truffles and other deliciousness. This decadent preparation is exactly what I was talking about with the contrast of what this dinner will show. But story-wise, it was also an unexpected insight into Babette's character that developed into something much, much nicer. I didn't expect to have actually, story tied, a little almost clue to Babette's character tied into the feast. I really liked how that was a payoff, and an unexpected payoff in that way. With that said, we're going to go ahead and give Babette's Feast 1987 a 70 on the dot.
A 70 on the dot. I think that's a very good score, very respectable score. I'm kind of still perplexed by this film. And I don't know if everyone should go and watch this, to be honest about it. I think a lot of people, as you said, might be bored to tears. But I think the person that kind of hang out, or someone who can definitely enjoy A Banshees of Inisherin, where there's not much else going on, but you've just got to kind of focus on what's happening with the two main characters.
Yeah, character relations almost.
And it takes you to a time. And it's very Danish feeling. And it's also a nice story in the end.
Yeah.
As weird as it can get, or as just like, what are we watching here? It's different, and I appreciate it. So 70% for Babette's Feast. Also on Max, actually.
I think so,
So super easy to find.
Yep.
I bought it on Amazon like an idiot, and then I realized it was on Max. Excellent, Vin. Okay, so moving on. We are jumping to 1996. This has been rated. We have never talked about it on the podcast, though.
Yep.
I think we're both excited to talk about it. I think we both agree it absolutely belongs in part 1 of the Essential Cooking Movies.
Yeah.
So the Tooch is loose. We've got Campbell. We got Campbell Scott and Stanley Tucci directing this. It is the big night, and you get into it, break it down a bit, and let's talk about it.
Well, in my book, there has only ever been one true cooking movie.
Oh, wait a second. I'm sorry. 0 to 5 ramens for Babette's Feast.
Or why not 0 to 5 quails in sarcophagus?
Perfect. So we'll change every time. Yeah.
All right, I'm gonna give it 2 quails. No, maybe even 1, honestly. Just
One
because,
quail?
Yeah, we don't get. I mean, really, that bread stew is the only other cooking outside of the feast that we see.
I got to tell you, something about that bread stew had me. It looked weird by the end.
I know your palate enough.
Oh man! So 1 quail. Okay.
1 quail. 5 ramen, 1 quail.
Okay, so the big night, not the big night, just big night.
Yes, yeah, that's right. I always mess that up as well.
Yeah.
But in my book, there has only ever been, one cooking movie, like I said, and that is the directorial collab between Stanley Tucci and Campbell Scott. As an Italian American, here we go. I know. Wait until I cover The Godfather. Few movies have captured the levity, temper, and passion of my upbringing like Big Night, and has always been a comfort food type of movie that I throw on whenever I need to cheer up a little bit. Watching the film, you can no doubt feel it's a rookie production, though, with a small budget, but it's with those limitations that this achieves an experience with some real, genuine heart. So much so that whenever I've shown this to anyone, they've walked away loving it regardless of some of its surface-level flaws. Again, just coming from a first movie, a rookie production, and a first-time collab also for Tucci and Scott. Both of them went on to have so much more successful acting careers than their short-time directing. Both of them kind of do like 4 to 6 little projects.
Kind of smaller stuff. Yeah.
But I've always found it a bit of a shame that the two rarely worked together after this, and for no particular reason I was able to find. I was looking for some drama, looking for some tea. Nope. I guess they're still friends, but I just don't know why they haven't worked together again. This movie also has a quality we've touched on for our director's first special, where although it feels amateur, it nonetheless comes from a core inspiration that packs the experience to the brim with creative touches. Luckily, you don't need much budget to get 2 brothers arguing in a kitchen about each other's ambition, and it really thrives in those moments. Tackling subjects like the American dream is really no stranger to immigrant stories, especially Italian ones, but I've always found the film's theme of losing your cultural identity to hit so hard because it's wrapped in the chaotic stress of running a restaurant. This really, I think that's really what I appreciate the most about this, is that the perspective that it gives to how hard it is to run a restaurant, even if you're doing everything else right.
Oh, absolutely. I think it's a classic story. And what I always think about when I see this, especially when I see the outside of the restaurant too, it reminds me when you go into a city or anything like that, or any type of town, there will always be that rundown, small-looking place.
Yeah.
And it doesn't necessarily look like it's the cleanest.
Yep.
And yet it probably has the best food in it.
Sure.
Because they're great at cooking the food. But as far as like branching out or putting money that they don't even have into the place and sprucing things up and being that, it just doesn't work that way.
Yeah, that kind of hole-in-the-wall mentality.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And that's what they're trying. That's what they have. They have the amazing food, a bit of a hole in the wall, but deserves to be way, way better.
Yeah, absolutely. Big Night is a brotherly comedy drama that centers on a 1950s Jersey restaurant named Paradise, where inside it is anything but. Our 2 Italian brothers are Primo, the idealist chef, played by Tony Shalhoub, and Secundo, the realist manager, played by Stanley Tucci himself. Their struggling restaurant may do things the right way, and even do them the best way, but can't seem to cut it, especially in competition with their louder rivals down the block, giving the people what they want. While Secundo has the ambition to throw his ideals out the window for success, Primo is ready to die before changing his ways, both unable to see the fulfillment they could find in compromising ever so slightly. In desperation to keep their place open, they have plans to host a dinner for the boisterous Louis Prima himself. which sparks the passion of everyone to show up for a big night they will never forget. I think why this has always been my mark of what I consider a food or cooking movie is because it crafts a story around the experience of making food you're proud of, you know? And I feel like that's an experience that even the most amateur of chefs, the most rookie of cooks can experience when you feel the enjoyment of serving a meal to someone, pulling it off. An early argument between Primo and Secundo has them talking about removing risotto from the menu because the customers don't understand the dish at all. It's not that Primo doesn't understand what's popular, but in one of the best back and forths in the script, he mocks the idea that maybe we should add a hot dog to the menu instead of cutting the risotto. It really is great. I love that scene so much. And Tony Shalhoub, really just great. He needs to be in more stuff.
Yeah. They both work so well on screen together. It's ridiculous.
It's so great. So great. Across many arguments like this, we see the struggle these brothers have is not identifying what will make them successful. Instead, it's a matter of giving them the time, giving in to the pressure to assimilate their ideals, to kind of smooth the edges in pursuit of the American dream. Ian Holmes wonderfully plays their rival business owner, Pascal.
It's amazing.
He really is.
He's an animal, absolute animal.
Absolute. And, he just contrasts them perfectly. He might have all the success they could ever dream of, but he has completely warped into a mascot parading food that has none of his soul in it, none of his identity in it. He's just, the face of it. Also, Ian Holmes is the only person to have 2 slots this week. He is the sous chef in Ratatouille as well.
Yes, he is. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
Yep.
That's also why I was thinking about other comedies and whatnot. Ian Holmes specifically is just talk about some range on him.
Yeah.
Horror, fantasy.
He's a very good actor.
Yeah.
He's a very good actor.
Yeah.
You just don't think about it much as being one of the main star leading guys. But then you look at his career and it's okay, the guy's working a lot.
Absolutely.
Guy's working a lot.
And speaking of those acting performances, though, I think the big highlight here, of course, are Tucci and Shalhoub.
Yeah.
They're just dynamite in this, especially when it comes to their Italian rage, ready to boil over at the smallest moment. Over the course of the film, Tucci builds a character that I think is increasingly complex and increasingly messy to the point that you might not even like him by the end.
Absolutely.
Where Shalhoub, man, he shows you who Primo is right there and then, and every moment to follow.
Yeah.
It is fully, he's just, there's no holding back of who he is as a character, flaws and all. I just think the dynamic between these two are just hysterical, and it just got me thinking about, both of their careers a lot, and just once again, kind of with Campbell Scott, who plays a sleazy Cadillac dealer in this, a great character too. Just where did the collab go? They had this, this maybe not lightning in a bottle. Maybe there was a lot of stretch to the production, but it's kind of where did they go? And why it was looking kind of is there drama? Is there bad blood between the two?
Who knows?
I have a soft spot for some smaller performances as well. I like Minnie Driver.
Yeah.
Isabella Rossellini is in this. And like I said, Campbell Scott playing one sleazy car dealer.
Honestly,
really solid.
Everyone's kind of great in this movie.
Yeah.
And you need it. You're in a car, you're in the restaurant.
Yeah.
And you're in maybe a room here or there. Everyone is just doing such a good job. It brings you in. It's exciting to be in the film. It's funny, like you said. When you're in a bad mood, it's a great film to watch. Mm-hmm. Not that there isn't tension in the film or anything like that, but everybody is a character. You know what I mean? Everybody seems maybe a little bit playing an unrealistic part.
Sure, a little cartoony,
right? Even though they're in a very realistic situation.
Sure.
And it just makes it a joy to watch. Mm-hmm. It really does.
Yeah. Let's talk about some food because, predictably, there is more than anyone could possibly eat in this. The star of the show is, of course, the timpano, being the literal climax for the big night, but also important enough for Tucci to name his production company after it, Timpano Productions.
Really?
Yeah.
Nice.
It was pretty interesting. Primo doing things the right way. We get plenty of pasta made from scratch, though the real star has to be the multiple scenes explaining the delicacy of risotto, long before every fast casual chain could swap out a risotto
so true.
for a starch or something. It's, I think that's also why this is so worth a watch, because it's like the bastardization Primo is scared of has happened.
There's such good one-liners in this round. The hot dog things. Sometimes spaghetti likes to be alone.
Exactly.
I think I don't know. Because I will say, Tucci's guy, the way he's so fast in this.
Yeah.
The way he talks, the way he goes at it. It's just great.
Yeah.
The whole thing is a bit of a comedy.
Yeah.
Because the way these two interact are so comical, it's hard not to have a smirk on your face.
Absolutely. I mean, it even kind of hits on, not that it was a huge thing in Wages of Fear, but like the Italian duo is like a core pillar of comedy.
You're not wrong, yeah.
And they kill it here. Without spoiling it, though, my favorite scene in the whole movie, and really why, honestly, the skin into the game of why I put this on, not to review for the podcast, just to like watch for pleasure.
Yeah.
It comes at the very end with one of the single greatest breakfast shots you could ever ask for. Just total simplicity, barely any words.
Yep.
Really, it's one of my favorite scenes of all time, I think. I was watching it again, and I was just like, man, I love the confidence of this scene. I love that, these rookie filmmakers, like that, this is how they end the movie, kind of on a bittersweet note.
Right, yeah, totally.
Just so great, so great.
I completely agree. I remember you brought up that scene years ago, before the podcast.
Sure.
And the more I watch this film, then it's like, oh, it is nice, especially after after what happens, and then they come back, complete silence, and this just kind of happens. It's perfect.
Yeah,
perfect.
I mean, honestly, after all the fighting in the entire movie, all the arguing,
yeah, for sure.
Folks, it is a wonderful little story, though, of how passion doesn't always equal success. The movie has rhythm, it has a great escalating style building towards the dinner, but most of all, it always keeps its themes in mind. For many years, the mark of a great work of art for me was always being able to come back to it and take away something new, an appreciation, a new way to love it, or, understanding it in a parallel way. I sit here having dedicated so much time to thinking about and discussing movies that I can't help but feel a little frustration that Primo and Secundo do from time to time. But like this story shows, even though you might compromise on the little things, you still have to strive for the greatness you know is possible in your heart. We're going to go ahead and give Big Night 1996 an 83.
An 83%. And I mean, honestly, I remember when we started the daily ratings, and I was putting the movies on, and I saw that The Big Night was at an 83. I was mad at you. I was as mad as I could get. But it's just like, what are you doing putting The Big Night at 83?
Right.
And you had always doubled down on it. You were like, no, I'm telling you, I love that movie. I love that movie. And then I gave it a watch, and since we started daily ratings, I've watched it twice.
Yep.
And it's just like, man, this movie rocks.
Yeah, it's so good.
It rocks. There's two films on here I'm really stressing out. Do I give it two shoes or not? But I was actually I didn't know what to give them. Like, I don't know what to do.
Sure.
Because I want to give it such a good nod, and at the same time, is it too much? I don't know. But
you're right.
The Big Night is such an enjoyable movie. It's crazy.
Yeah.
You can rent it on Amazon, probably rent it some other places like Google or something like that if you're interested. I do have to give a gold star to Tucci in all of this, though. Without him, it falls apart. I do think you could replace other people. Tucci it's on his shoulders.
Yeah,
still.
and such a complex character.
His acting is great. He's so good.
Yeah.
At playing, again, he's quick. I mean, his motions, the way he delivers dialogue. It's just a great acting performance.
When he's awkward, when his insecurities are showing,
Yeah.
It's a vulnerable character, and I totally agree. I mean, I think Shaloub is included in that just because I love him, but I'm with you as far as like
you're also a fan of Monk too, I think.
Yeah, I'm a fan of Monk. I don't know what's Tony Shalhoub else been in.
That's it. It's Monk in this.
No,
I mean, let's be honest.
not true. Not true. He's
not
Men in
true,
Black.
but it's true.
He's the guy that gets his head blasted off in Men in Black.
Yes, that's true too. That's true too.
That's definitely true. It's on his IMDb. But yeah, just
Tucci's movements in this film, I'm impressed with.
Absolutely, a great acting performance for him, especially in. I mean, just like Campbell Scott, they act a lot. I mean, Tucci's got like 140 on his credits. There's a lot of movies he stars in. So,
and I didn't like him at first. I take that so back. I apologize to him already on the podcast.
I think you did. Yeah.
Freaking love Tucci now.
Yeah,
he's really creeping in there.
Yeah.
Okay, so from 0 to 1 hot dog, or 0 to 5 hot dogs.
0 to 5 hot dogs, probably 4 hot dogs.
Yeah, I think that's very good.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, if not 5, because
No, 4.
Yeah, okay, all right, because it's truly not as much as Tampopo. Like every
we're sure about
speed,
that. Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah, what are we saying?
There is like romance and normal drama. And,
okay, so 4 out of 5 hot dogs. I enjoy the cooking aspect in this film.
Yes.
Better than the other two so far.
Sure. And cute, too. When Primo invites his little crush back to the kitchen, I feel like that's a cute kitchen scene to it.
Anytime in the kitchen, that's the best part of the movie.
Yeah, it's true.
Okay, all right, so Big Night with an 83%. Very good, Vin. Now let's jump to 2007. We're in the 2000s now. This one not rated on the site, and slowly, once in a while, we'll kind of like chip a Pixar film off.
Bingo, yeah.
And just try to cover them, as we have so many to cover still.
So much.
But again, I had suggested Ratatouille, and you're like, oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Definitely, let's do it. So it's Ratatouille. It's directed by Brad Bird, co-directed by Jan Pankava.
Yes.
I didn't realize even back then that Pixar was doing this whole co-director business.
Yeah.
But they were.
Mm-hmm. It seems like that took place maybe like post-2004.
Wow, okay.
Which is, I mean, like that sounds so early for Pixar still, but like, yeah, I mean, they were already kind of hitting a stride at that point.
Okay. And it's got a lot of big names in it. The funny thing is, as far as our main guy, well, you have the rat, of course, played by, what's his face?
Patton Oswalt.
Right. Is Rat. What is
Remy.
It? Remy. And,
what's that rat?
but the guy who plays the other main kind of person, he might, as far as lines go,
yeah,
he has a lot of lines.
Linguini.
He plays Linguini. It's a guy named Lou Romano.
Yeah,
and I thought maybe he was Ray Romano's brother. He's not. And Lou Romano's like totally unrecognizable. We don't know him from anything.
Yeah, a good voice acting voice.
Great in this.
Yeah.
And the funny thing is, Brad Garrett from Everybody Loves Raymond is in the movie.
Yeah.
So as soon as I saw Brad Garrett, I was like, oh, then we have a Romano. This is definitely. I was like, oh no, never mind. Anyway,
it's a family affair.
Patton Oswalt is our little mouse, our little rat. Let's get into Ratatouille. First of all, my first time seeing it ever.
No way.
Absolutely.
Really?
I watched it. It was on at one point, and the family was watching. I was asleep.
Wow. Okay.
Okay. Now you did watch it before.
Yeah.
It's been a while.
We didn't really like grow up with this. I mean, 2007. I mean, I was like hyped for The Dark Knight 24 hours a day. So
it's very true.
I mean, really like watch that trailer on repeat. But yeah, I mean, Ratatouille is still like I literally said thank God out loud when you texted me that, because like we needed something the slightest bit more marketable than good old Babette. And I also think, I mean, in the challenge of what is essential to food movies, I think missing a fan favorite like this would have been, a little
distasteful.
Oh, right, yeah.
Ratatouille, jump in.
Ratatouille. Well, this is the 8th film from Pixar. Our director, Brad Bird, had already delivered a hit with 2004's The Incredibles and safely secured his spot on the Brain Trust, Pixar's own new age version of the 9 old men who made up the core of Disney animations. In fact, Brad Bird's 2 Oscar wins to his career both come from winning Best Animated Feature for The Incredibles and now Ratatouille in 2007. Of course, behind any animation team is an army of hard work and an army of overwork. But with this movie, Bird was able to single-handedly uphold his own belief in animation being so much more than just a kid's genre. It is he tries to create movies for everyone. And I feel like that is a really core aspect of Ratatouille that I'll touch on a few times. Ratatouille is an animated adventure through the world of French cuisine, seen and smelled by the uninvited guest every restaurant fears to death. Remy the rat is not your own ordinary pest. Though he might eat some of the same garbage as his fellow rodent, he has an appreciation for fine food, living a secret culinary life. When he finds his way into every chef's idol, Gusteau's restaurant, he takes a chance helping a young new hire named Linguini and saves him from getting canned on messing up his very first day. The two are in hot water together, and now they have to keep up the facade of actually knowing how to cook without revealing the rodent behind it all. But whether they survive the critics is a whole nother story. I would say after watching this, I was really happy we included it in this special. I feel like this special has a lot of highbrow. You know what I mean?
Yeah, sure.
There's a lot of highbrow cooking, and especially having 3 slots dedicated to French cooking specifically. I mean, Babette kind of steals that away from the Danes. You know?
Wait, what do you mean 3 films?
So Babette's Feast turns into
Taste of
French.
Things.
Taste of Things is French, and this is French.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, you know,
It is totally French.
I would like, some Italian, more Italian in there. Maybe Japanese too. But I'm cool with giving it to the French.
Well, I was looking for The Man Who Shot Liberty Valance, so I got to feel your pain.
Oh, man. I mean, to quote Gusteau himself, or Brad Garrett for you, Tom, anyone can cook. And I think the brilliance of packaging this story in a kid's movie are the informative aspects that teach you a little bit about food, from kitchen organization, the French Brigade system, or how to appreciate flavor profiles. This hits the golden rule in my book for kids' movies that it truly is made for everyone. And at minimum, I think the story can open up your kid's eyes that only wants McDonald's, and maybe the parents as well that only going to buy McDonald's for your kids.
Right.
There's something to that there that I think it's a simple lesson. It's not really overcomplicated, but I feel like what it does to, introduce probably a lot of kids seeing this for the first time, and maybe even me myself back in 2007 or whenever I got around to it, that there's something there that it's a good introduction to the world of food or how to appreciate food. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely. You're right.
What, you don't like the golden rule?
No, I just
I think that's your golden rule.
I feel like I shouldn't talk too much in this review.
Wait, yeah.
I don't want to be the trap that catches this rat. I didn't love this movie.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, no, you got to dig it
I was
now. You gotta.
I mean, I love the role you were on. First of all, I'm not going to say that this is, of course, it's a Pixar movie.
Okay.
A kid can watch this, a parent can watch this and be happy and
this
whatever.
is Golden Age Pixar, too.
Yeah, I absolutely. We're getting out of Golden Age for sure, actually. Listen, man, I thought it wasn't that good of a movie.
Really?
Yeah, I was
Wow.
disappointed. I thought there was a huge lack of food. Okay, let's be honest. I went into this thinking it was a certain type of movie, and it wasn't.
Oh, okay. So maybe it's just
that's my
expectations.
problem. There you
Sure.
go.
Okay,
there you
fair,
go.
fair.
It's not stopping me from how I feel about the movie, though. I thought there was going to be so much more cooking. I thought it was going to be actual food. I thought it was going to be almost kind of a Taste of Things kid version.
Okay.
I wanted there to be more process. I wanted it to get into the weeds of cooking dishes.
Sure.
And it doesn't happen.
No.
It is a fun rat movie, building a relationship with a cook.
Yep.
And they just happen to be around food.
Yeah. And
that's great.
It's
great.
Pixar in its storyline of this rat has to live up to certain expectations. He wants to do his own thing. That in itself is a very kid story.
It was weaker than I thought because my thing was, and listen, I know how big Ratatouille is. I know how big this movie is.
I mean, there's probably a good argument that this is the very top of Pixar.
I mean, people love this movie.
Yeah,
and people always say with Ratatouille, it's up there. If Pixar had a Mount Rushmore. This would be on there.
Remy's on there.
So I just was expecting. I was expecting better all around. I don't even think the story beats were all that good. I don't think it hit emotion in the way it was trying to hit emotion. And again, maybe that's just my cold, my bloodless heart at this
that's
point.
That's exactly what I was going to say. Do you think your heart couldn't open up to a Pixar movie?
Right. I guess
2025.
I'm a Legend of Ochi kid. I don't know. It's just. I mean, I just go back. I was able to really enjoy myself with Puss in Boots, but this, I thought it just missed out on some of its marks.
Sure.
And I know that's not where you wanted to go when you quick asked, what do you think? But
No, but at the same time, I want to hear your actual opinion on this.
yeah, lackluster and let down.
Well, I mean, I think that's understandable because, I mean, if only because this has an expectation of one of the best Pixar, the Mount Rushmore of Pixar. So I feel like that can shoot an experience.
That expectation and my expectation of more food. I really thought we were going to be in the kitchen more, and I thought our mouse was going to be stirring pots a little bit more. And it just wasn't.
Pulling the strings.
It just wasn't.
Yeah, true. It really is more about, like, his role.
Dude, Ratatouille's not even important. Ratatouille.
Well, easy.
Okay.
The Ratatouille is important.
Yes, in the last 15 minutes of the film. I have to say, the film ends well.
Yeah.
By the end of the film, I was like, so I'm not going to give this a Tommy Two Shoes.
Okay.
I was going to give this a very bad score. And the last 15 minutes said, they got me. It felt like Pixar.
Yes,
It had a Pixar moment. The film,
a real nice bow on top.
The film, to me, was not a Pixar film moment, whatever.
Up until then.
And to be honest, yes, exactly. My problem with... I don't know if I'm digging myself even deeper here. But I really can't stand Up.
Oh, whoa.
And Up.
Really?
Right.
I mean, listen, I haven't watched
a huge
Up
favorite.
a very huge favorite.
I was very disappointed when I saw Up.
Wow.
Now, I saw it in my late 20s, but you know what I mean.
The emotion in Up and whatnot.
Oh, no. Okay, again, the first 15 minutes in Up, this might be the deepest, most just unbelievable film I've ever seen in my life.
Sure.
Everything else don't like. Ratatouille, you can change that. Didn't really like anything about it.
Last
That's
15
not true.
minutes.
That's a little harsh. It was fine. It was a fine
that's a
movie.
little harsh.
It was a fine movie. But what I really enjoyed, where it felt Pixar, was last 15. That's how I look at those two movies.
Interesting. Well, maybe you hit on something important. I've definitely heard arguments that Pixar earns its claim to fame in small moments, and it's why their short stories or the short little films before the movies work really well sometimes because they work in small concepts, not big concepts.
Yeah, but then you actually think of the greats, and that's not true. I think that's what people are just like.
I think Up is up there. I'd be curious. I mean, well, listen, this is completely out of our asses because we haven't watched a lot of the Pixar movies for the podcast. So
sure, but I mean, we're well versed. We grew up in the Pixar world.
Toy Story.
We grew up. I remember.
You're gonna put Bugs Life in the Mount Rushmore, aren't you?
Well, listen,
I think that's gotta get some flack.
No, we could put what is the on the other side of Mount Rushmore that they're carving that's like 6 times larger than Mount Rushmore?
I'm not sure I know.
Oh yeah, it's which Native
Mount
American?
Rushmore 2.
The Native American chief.
Oh,
And I don't want to say the wrong one. Is it Little Bighorn?
Maybe.
Anyway,
Okay.
It's a nonprofit thing. It's been going on for decades.
Oh,
it's going to
okay.
continue for decades, but like a truly massive structure. Regardless, that can be Bug's Life. I don't know. I just think maybe that's a cop out as far as Pixar has these moments. Maybe present day Pixar.
Sure.
That's like
I mean, you're hitting on exactly why. Like we talked about it off the podcast, but like I kind of wanted to watch all the Disney movies in chronological order. Like
great idea.
I mean, but like to really like separate what's the phrase, wheat from the chaff. I mean, like you like really like actually find out what I at least consider the best of the best, and what are like the marks of why they're great.
What would be the smartest thing to do?
What?
Potentially, in my opinion, is to go newest to oldest. I think there's a case to be made that the oldest is the strongest, so only disappointment comes. Maybe start with what's fresh, starts with what's new, and we'll see by the time we get to 94, 93, Toy Story, how it all holds up.
Yeah, that's a good point. Well,
it's not happening. I mean, let's be honest, we're not watching. I mean, come on.
Yeah, we briefly flirted December being that time, but December is always like the catch-up month for end of the year. So
anyway, sorry to be that guy.
I know.
Sorry to be the guy.
I'm glad that we got some salt.
It's how I felt. It's nice. It's honestly just how I felt, though.
Yeah, absolutely.
Subpar throughout most of the film.
And I think the observation is good as far as like actual cooking itself maybe not being the biggest focus for the film.
Yeah.
It's more so about this rat's role, Linguini's role, and
I think
how they kind of navigate that together.
Yeah, I think it wasted our time sometimes, though, too, honestly.
He's continuing to dig
well,
down.
well, Ian Holm is getting Luigi or Linguini drunk.
Yeah.
And I just think there's wasted time where we could be having better beats. That's all.
Okay,
That's it. That's all. That's all.
Well,
I believe the tangent you're going off of
is for everyone.
Is I say, well, You also made the comment, I'm really glad we put this in this week.
That's so good. Yeah, no, I am, because I'm still glad, because now we might get some activity and angry comments.
Okay, you go ahead. You continue.
Well, I think my appreciation for this movie comes from the pacing in the story. The credit is split three ways on this, with Bird's fellow animators providing story, which is very commonplace, but personally, I think it's a tight story because it comes from the animation process itself, storyboarding, laying everything out. You know, I'll put a pin in this for now, maybe until we cover more of Bird's work, like Iron Giant from 1999. But I feel like the pacing of his films, I know you're aren't you at odds with Incredibles a little bit?
I've never seen him.
Oh, okay.
I think I watched I think I might have fell asleep during 2.
Okay, all right. But in his movies, there's really something, at least his animated movies, there's really something I feel like the pacing just moves on at a clip because it's so tied to that storyboarding process. And that's true for all of animation, honestly, but there's something magic there, and even how he just like sets up certain things. On the negative side of this, this movie, it does have some occasional moments where that 3D animation has not aged the best.
I'm glad you're bringing this up.
Oh, yeah. Especially in the first half for some reason. Just really, almost shitty looking.
Well, listen, I had two minds of this.
Okay.
At first, I said, boy, I'll tell you what, this animation is lacking a lot of detail in its characters and what's going on screen. But then you think, it was 2007.
Yeah.
This was being worked on in 2005, 2006.
Yeah.
And when you're almost 20 years old, and then you watch it in that perspective, then I started to have appreciation for it, where I was visibly seeing just like, well, that would definitely look a lot better today. But it's okay that it looks like this.
Yeah.
I'm still kind of impressed that they were getting this back in 2007.
Yeah, that's a good point. And God knows what we'll find when we revisit Toy Story 1. You know what I mean? Because apparently that looks nightmarish at times,
But it does lack in detail. A lot of things look smooth. And you don't get those fine details.
Yeah, it's also in like the just like surrounding like crates and boxes that'll be in the French streets and whatnot. Like if you scan the frame, it's just like, ooh, that doesn't look great. But for the most part, I think the composition and the animation is where this makes up for it itself. Not the quality of the CGI or the 3D animation, but just what is being done in fluid motion. And it really comes from always giving scenes some dynamic movement or playfulness, especially in the later half. I love the shrunken perspective of Remy, where it makes even the smallest traversal an adventure scene. And this style is something that I've always loved. I've commented on it before in the podcast, the shrunken world. I'm talking Pikmin. I'm talking Marcel the Shell. Honey, I Shrunk the Kids. Maybe it's just my 90s brain, but I just can't get enough of it.
That works for you.
I love that shrunken world, or that perspective.
Oh, Ant-Man. You love that first Ant-Man
That
part.
first Ant-Man, yeah, absolutely.
With the bathtub, he's falling through the floors in the apartment building, right?
Yeah, I think so. Don't put a gun to my head and quiz on Ant-Man, Animated or otherwise, let's talk about food, or maybe the lack thereof. One of the most iconic moments in the whole movie is Remy explaining flavor combinations, and Stan's is just such a creative way to show it visually with like these little jazzy flourishes, just very cute. The bombshell scene, though, in this, without a doubt, is the Ratatouille itself, delivered to our food critic ego. This scene has lived on the internet forever now, simply because it nails a kind of a visual feeling of nostalgia so much. But I think it's just a really excellent scene when you watch it, because in full, it's just such a perfect payoff how one single bite can change everything. It's one bite, and I feel like that is true to the finale of Babette's Feast. I feel like that's true to some of the finale in Big Night.
It's true in life, too.
Yeah,
that's why it hits.
Absolutely.
Like I said, the last 15 minutes,
sold.
Got me.
Got him. You were taken back. Ratatouille, though, very, very cute movie, and I really mean it when I say it is for everyone. It was a joy to revisit for the podcast, and my only hesitation in giving it a score is because we've yet to cover so much of the Pixar golden age, no less, just like Pixar in general. But without a doubt, it's one of the new classics from the studio, and let's hope they never dig it up for a sequel, as they've been tending to do. We're going to be going ahead and giving Ratatouille 2007 a 78.
78%. Woo-hoo, okay. Okay, you enjoy yourself. That's fine. That's fine. It's all good. No. 0 to 5 Ratatouilles, Vincenzo. What do we got here?
I'm gonna give this 3. No, I don't. Maybe 2. What? How many quails did I give?
You gave
1 quail.
Babette 1.
Okay, this gets a 2.
This does get 2.
And then I probably tasted things gets 3.
Don't jump the gun. What do you mean 3? What do you mean 3?
3 what?
Well, I'm just saying 3. You're not gonna. It's gonna get 5. First of all, what's the matter with you? There's so much food. Anyway,
there is a lot of food.
Okay, we'll get there in a second. Just want to remind people that the Daily Ratings is completely producer-supported here. We are listener-supported. We're not going to deal with any advertising. We're not going to deal with paywalls on our site. We're not going to deal with subscriptions where you're forced to pay some money a month in order to get some type of content. The idea of being listener-supported and what we're doing here, it is the value for value model. So are you enjoying yourself? Do you listen to the podcast once in a while or every week? Do you use the website when you're looking for something to watch? The idea behind that is if you're using it, that means you're finding it valuable in some sort of way. If that's value in your pocket, can you send us value back in our pocket? Value for value. So if you can, go to thedailyratings.com and head to the donations tab. And right there, through your monetary support, through your donations, you become actual legitimate producers of the Daily Ratings. Because just like when you financially support a project in Hollywood, you're a producer of that project. So again, producer supported, we're listener supported. Right there on that donations page, it's all laid out for you. We do have some set donations. The big value for value button is there as well because everyone's on their own finances. Everyone's week to week is different. And so you pay whatever amount you want. What's the value you're getting? That could be $5. It could be $50. It can be $500. Any amount is different to each individual person. So, again, you head to thedailyratings.com and head to the donations tab. When you do become a producer, we just don't want to take the money from you. We want to get your input. We want to bring you into the conversation. So when you send in a note, you can email us at tom.vin@thedailyratings.com. That's our email address. And send in a producer note. This can be questions, comments, critiques. Ask us anything, say anything. Start up a new conversation. Something that's been on your mind. Any questions that you have. It can be whatever. Again, if you're producing and a producer, we want to bring you into the conversation. It's a through line to you. If you want to be anonymous, by the way, just say, hey, I want to be anonymous, and we'll keep your donation and your note anonymous. But that's how we're doing it here at the Daily Ratings. Again, head on to thedailyratings.com, check out everything else that's on there, and also go to the donations tab. Now, okay, Vin, so with our last film, we discussed it before where we covered this technically on the podcast already. But since then, I have watched it. We talked about it a lot on the Daily Ratings, on the
Tom Dailies.
On the Tom Dailies. Mm-hmm. So what we're going to do is I just want to cut back almost, and I cleaned up, kind of shortened up the original review a little bit, but I want to give everybody a taste of that original review after you watched it. So we're going to take a step back. We're going to take a look at The Taste of Things, which came out in 2023, but technically came out in the States in a wider release in 24, so we count it as a 24 film.
Okay.
That's why, in fact, almost a year ago to this week is when we really watched it.
Yeah.
Which is cool. But anyway, folks, so we're going to take a quick stop 1 year ago and hear how Vincent Daly liked The Taste of Things.
Well, this was a heartfelt, heartwarming film. Really a great time. Not a bore at all. Really a wonderful, wonderful movie. So hats off to you for catching this one.
No, absolutely. And I mean, my biggest thing is how do they fill 2 hours and 15 minutes?
It very much is in the school of The Big Night as far as we are watching meticulously the cooking segments.
Hell yeah.
I'll say it in a little bit. What's my favorite thing of calling things the action? The cooking is the action.
The cooking is the action.
The cooking's the action. It's visual storytelling. I got to say, though, I really love this movie. It was an instant buy for me after watching this.
Oh, nice.
Just one that I wanted to kind of keep in the holster. This is the 9th movie from our director, An Hung Tran, who has been working since the 90s, but clearly must be a passion project for him because this was so much of a delicate, detailed focused care put into this film, and something in the subject matter that none of his previous works were touching on similar ground. I can't say any previous works of his grabbed my eyes or that I recognize, but I'll definitely kind of keep my ear to the ground for this, because this was one hell of a movie for him to just like kind of do out of nowhere. Yeah.
He's a Vietnamese guy, correct?
Yes. Also was a little bit of the confusion because it's very much a French movie. It's in French.
Super French.
Right.
Yeah.
So I guess that mean. Nice. But yeah, just a little bit of research. Didn't find anything, too major in the directions of that. A Taste of Things is a jump back to the late 1890s in France to explore fine cuisine and cooking in fine cuisine. While this is a fictional story, it does try to capture the maturing culinary world at the time with France in the center focus. This also has a kind of a genre title or genre tag of history or historical.
Yeah.
And I feel like it's because they're trying to tie to the specific movements that's happening in the French cuisine right now during that turn of the century.
Yeah, I was going to say it's although it's not a true story or anything like that, they're making the food of the time and how it was made at the time, correct? Like that's the history of it.
In the way.
Yeah, it's a visual cookbook essentially.
Yeah. That's a great way to refer to it. I love that. I also think a thought occurred to me while watching this. If anyone's like a fan of like Townsend on YouTube, the guy that does like the old like Americana food.
He's my boy.
Yeah.
Oh, he's my guy.
Yeah. I feel like this fits like perfect for you because it's like it's watching all of this being painstakingly done without electricity, without refrigeration.
Right before it pops off.
Yeah. And still refined beyond our wildest imagination, more refined than it could be, even with these conveniences. So we follow Dodine Buffant, claimed to be the Napoleon of the culinary world. This is not just talk either, as countless scenes demonstrate his exquisite cooking skills. And folks, we're starting off with some very high praise. This really commits to some serious show, don't tell when it comes to this. Eugenie is his loyal right hand in the kitchen for many years, but oddly enough has never taken a romantic interest. These two are so immersed in their art, in the culinary discipline, that it's almost portrayed like it just didn't cross their mind. And they said, maybe we should be in a relationship, The film follows us at that turning point of the romance in a wonderful way, only after the climax of countless years of friendship and collaboration in the kitchen. The design of tables, of food displayed has a gorgeous abundance to it. Ingredients are just overflowing in every scene. Fully cooked dishes alike, just like riddled, just all over every table, and just overflowing in so many scenes. Folks, if you're a fan of Studio Ghibli films, you know how the aesthetics of cooking can kind of be an art to itself.
Oh, yeah.
This film captures that perfectly, and then to a further degree, just doing it in live action. This turn-of-the-century cookware is labor-intensive and follows through on the ceiling that cooking at this caliber takes a life dedication. There's a line that Buffant says in this that he goes, composer can conduct a symphony at 5, understand yada yada at 7, but you can only be a gourmet by year 40. And it's like, oh wow, yeah, there's something to that. And even down to the supporting characters, everyone is just so engaged in the world of cooking. I especially love Buffant's crew that eats with him, that it's just kind of a circle of trust to make sure that his cooking is still good. It's like his doctor, a farmer down the road, but they all just show up and he travels with them. It's like he has a little posse. It's great. And very cute for that reason. Not to overcompare to Big Night, but there's a lovingness that happens. There's a camaraderie that happens around the table when they're sharing, the food. And food's of such a high caliber.
I'm getting a little bit of Julie and Julia vibes.
Oh, sure.
Which is another cooking film. I don't think it's on actually rated.
I don't think I've seen it, actually, but...
I've seen it recently, and it's quite good.
Yeah.
But it's also with her as a younger Julie child in France, and she kind of has another crew of 2 women with her as they're making and refining the cookbook and everything. So much like that,
Yeah, absolutely. I absolutely adore how this film was shot as well. This was one area where I did not have too much time for research this week, but I thought the camera work and the shots were just flat out excellent.
Cool.
The experience focuses on a tranquility in a way that did not bore me even slightly. There's a certain charm, there's a certain authenticity to the countryside that was a captivating element that enriched scenes rather than just being like, oh, that's some pretty sights or something like that.
Right.
Most of all, it avoids being pompous, like I said. I feel like though this story is around elite French cuisine, my initial kind of gut feeling was like, oh, this might be a little dull. It might be good looking, might be certainly do well in that festival circuit for Cannes, but my
boring.
gut said it was going to be boring. Yeah. Not at all the case. And instead emphasizes just the joy of cooking. And that joy of cooking starts with how scenes are dedicated to, once again, showing the action of cooking, eating, and communicating the joy of that through the lens. It's in these shots of the countryside where I don't know. It's just like all of a sudden they're in their garden, and then the next scene is the table filled to the brim with ingredients that are all used in such a deliberate and delicate way to piece these dishes together. It was a great follow through in the look of the film and actually like conveying why we should care on the table. I think also, if you're not into cooking, folks, scenes have a certain patience that draws you in. I think there's an importance tied to these scenes that are equally split between showing what goes into the dish as well as the reaction of who eats it. That's where like I really do compare it to the Big Night. So many scenes are just people just like in absolute bliss over like, wow, how is this even in my mouth? How is this even possible? It's a great example of how tone in a scene can be crafted without almost any music. So much heavy lifting being done through visual storytelling. Seeing, truffles cut up and shoved into a duck that was butchered on the spot, and we saw the feet being poached separately. I mean, all of this is just very, very captivating in a way that it's not rushing any bit, and yet feels engaging.
You're drawn into it. You're drawn in. So much of that is really on the shoulder of cinematography and just the way the shot is set.
Yeah.
It's huge.
Yeah.
And they were probably dealing with a lot of natural lighting to keep it real.
Sure.
You know what I mean? Candlelit or sunlit, which just can kind of add to the effect as long as it looks good and looks real. Man, food can be some of the most engaging thing. Like you had mentioned pig.
Yeah.
Not a lot of cooking in Pig, but there's 3 main scenes where we get a little bit something with food. There's something very deep about it, almost emotional, or emotion to it, and I can only imagine that this had it to the nines. Is what it seems like.
Absolutely, and avoids alienating any viewer of this. You don't know what the recipes. I'll say personally, I didn't know what half the recipes were.
Right.
I'm into food. It avoids alienating the audience in any sort of way because we are just taken through the step by steps, and many characters around our chefs, our 2 chefs that the romance is around. Oftentimes will be leaning in. They're engaged as well as we are engaged, and we're kind of taken through the taste, the palate, stuff like that. That's very common in these type of movies about food.
I think the idea, too, that we're dealing with people really good at what they do. It's not just like random cooks or chefs.
Sure.
It's because you're watching a craft. So, like, you could not be into woodworking, but when you see a guy killing it at woodworking, it draws you in a little bit.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean? There's something to be said about that, where just watching someone, take it back to another food thing, like Jiro dreams of sushi.
Yes,
to see somebody dedicated his whole life and be a master at one specific things. It doesn't matter if you like sushi or not. You're watching something different on screen.
It's about the artistry at that point.
Exactly.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's where I think if there was an elevator pitch for this movie, despite it being, probably not the wheelhouse of a lot of people with being French subtitled, a pure romance. Again, we're following the character that is referred to as the Napoleon of the culinary world. There is a certain artistry there that is captivating on its own. So, but a really touching film, though, and the romance might be the driving plot, but just how our characters say in the film, they would rather see each other as chefs. And this was able to take the prestige and caliber of the highest level of cooking and boil it down to a human experience we all share. So it is well worth the watch. Give it a watch, folks. It's on streaming. We're going to go ahead and give The Taste of Things an 82.
An 82%, Vincent Daly. We are back now live in the special here, folks. Vin, an 82. You continue to still love this film.
Yes.
I love this film.
Yeah.
I'm sorry I didn't watch it for the podcast.
Oh,
because
but
we didn't see it in theaters, I believe. I think you got it on Amazon.
yeah, but an original spotlight from you. So I mean, finding that, I definitely,
It wasn't on your radar at all.
It was not on my radar at all, and I love that movie. I mean, we both gave it the daily recognition.
We didn't talk. Yeah, we didn't talk to each other.
Yeah, that's such a great moment.
Vin's specialty award that he gets to give out at the Tom Daly's. It's a daily recognition. Gave it a Taste of Things.
Yep.
And I've got the golden laces. I gave it to the Taste of Things. Didn't talk about it once. That's how good we like this film.
Yeah,
you know. And this is the one I really struggled on, is because I want to put a shoe rating on this.
Sure.
Just because if you see it on the site, I feel that strongly about it.
Yeah.
But I was also going back and forth because I have a better time watching The Big Night. Big Night.
I know. I still mess it up. Yeah.
But I think, I love this movie.
Uh-huh.
I think the fact that it's in the late 1800s makes a huge difference.
Yeah.
And there's something about the care and consideration that needs to be taken even while making the film and what they're doing here. It is so legit looking and it's so heavy on food.
Yeah.
The movie is so food heavy.
Oh, yeah.
And amazing scenes. You had that breakfast scene in Big Night. I think there's multiple scenes I could point to. I mean, there's an omelet scene in this.
Yeah.
And there's some quieter ones. Then you have your big splash meals. And everything from the little things being cooked to the major things, I'm enjoying it just as much.
Sure.
Love this movie. And we have no connection to it as far as, this was, guess who produced this? Guess who's the cinematographer?
Right. Yeah.
Guess who's nothing.
Yeah, nothing.
Nothing.
It's just good on its own.
And, I mean, it's made by a Vietnamese guy who's been working since the 90s and has hits here or there, kind of.
Right.
And then he made this incredible, incredible French film.
Really incredible.
I think I'm going to give this a 2 full laces tied.
Perfect score.
I think this gets a perfect score.
Damn.
It's a small film, and it
Yeah.
could be really quiet, and I could even cut around and is it truly perfect? No. But how much respect I have for this movie is off the charts.
Absolutely.
Love this film.
I love that.
And you gave it an 82, a very good score. One of the best rated scores of last year as well. And nothing but good things to say, honestly.
Yeah.
Again, if you want to pick it apart, you can, but I don't have any real issues. And same thing with The Big Night. I was almost came close to giving Big Night 2 shoes, 2 laces.
Sure.
But you were even saying you can feel the low budgetness a little bit in that film, and it is a smaller film. This is as well, but it just feels like if he wanted it, he could make a bigger film. I think he could have pulled probably a bigger budget almost. You get the feeling of.
Sure.
But it's all about being that 18th, 17th century, 20th century kitchen.
Yes.
And just kicking ass in there.
Yeah. But there's so much to it as the romance that unfolds as well. It's got a little bit more than just the cooking.
Yeah.
But that cooking there, why it made a cut for the special, I mean, it's really a no-brainer. Taste of Things is top notch, and I'm gonna be surprised if we see it dethroned anytime soon. Because as far as a new cooking movie at this
it's
caliber,
that impressive. It is that impressive to the point where this is that thing. Sometimes you say you'll watch something. You and I, of course, it's just all we want to do is make movies, and
yeah.
You know what I mean. We're just we're nowhere near close to it.
Right.
But you see scenes that impress you and just well, he did that. No one can't do that anymore.
Yeah,
that's not going to be original if I do that.
I totally feel you.
It's just there's no, after watching this,
did it first.
Wouldn't know where to start, wouldn't know where to even begin, and wouldn't know how to make a film this good when it comes to cooking.
Yeah.
What is the thing they eat where it's just the men and they put the napkin over their head and they're just get this? Is it eggs?
I don't know.
Or is it a type of a plum pastry or something like that?
It might be.
Okay. A 0 to 5, a tastiness as far as food appreciation in the Taste of Things.
Well, you kind of scolded me for giving it a 3, but I think we'll give it a 5.
Yeah, we are going to give it a 5. I mean, are you
kidding me?
Well, I won't beat you down by it. That's silly. Just watch the movie. And it's food through and through. I mean, it's
yeah,
unbelievable.
It's true. And especially as I commented on with Babette's Feast, so interesting in using its time period to inform the type of cooking that's happening.
Oh my gosh!
Later on in the film, they go to that experimental farm, and it's like they see it as like not what they want to incorporate into their lineage of cooking. It's just man, so.
And I think it ends well as well. You know what I mean? You don't quite know how it's going to go.
Yeah.
How are we feeling about things? And just the very, very last 2 seconds of just like, oh, and we have a little touching moment. We have a sweet moment.
Yeah.
Great movie. Love this movie. So glad that we were able to cover it last year. Longest movie of the year, by the way. It's 2 hours and 15 minutes. And
yeah, that's a good point. All these are real short. I mean, even that.
Well, they're under 2 hours.
Yeah.
Oh, what's Ratatouille? Yeah, Ratatouille, 151.
Yep.
So, this does a lot with its runway. Even
So
how
true.
small it is and
Yep.
small the cast is, this eats away at its time very appropriately.
Yeah, absolutely, and especially as it relates to the romance as well. Just like that, there's so much there that kind of marinates in itself, to use a cooking term. Like their time together is felt in the movie.
Yeah,
So.
absolutely. Okay, Vin, so looking at these scores or anything with this, do you want to touch on anything? Oh, I got a question for you.
Okay.
All these 5 films, which meal
Oh, that's a good question.
do you want most?
Damn, that's a good question.
2 questions. Let's start. You
Okay.
think on that for a second.
Okay.
I guess it's the same question. What meal, I don't know, what movie and what part during the movie got you the most where you were hungry? Like, what got you hungry? What got you, I wish that was in front of me right now? Ramen's tough.
It might be the
to
ramen
beat.
just because that's so satisfying to it. I don't know. I think if I was in Babette's Feast as a story, and
Really?
I never I don't have restaurants to go to in a major way. I feel like that the quail dish might be mind blowing.
Wow.
and I never,
I'm shocked by that.
Yeah. And I think that also contrasts Big Night, where I've had a lot of the stuff.
Did you have the big thing? What's that thing called again?
Timpano.
Have you had Timpano?
Yeah, once
you
before.
have?
Yeah.
Homemade?
Yeah. I mean, it has to be homemade.
Has to be homemade. Yeah, no restaurant's doing that.
Yeah.
Okay, that's fair.
How about you?
Well, I wanted to eat the most ramen while watching Tampopo,
Especially
but
the pork on it.
Taste
it
of
just looks
Things
so good.
wants me to be in the kitchen the most.
Oh, interesting.
That
And
I
that's
long to be
cooking.
in the kitchen when I watch that. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Okay, this was great. Do you have any ending notes? Anything?
No,
as far
no.
As, this was a good idea, I think.
Absolutely, I think. pending rant on Ratatouille.
Sorry, folks. Sorry.
No, but I really
Lost a
love
donation,
this.
I'm sure.
I really love this. Like I said, folks, if you have a contender, a horse in the race for what should be in the next essential special for food movies, for cooking movies, for restaurant movies, anything around that, we'd love to hear from you because this was really great doing this. And if it gets some traction, we'll be happy to do a part 2.
Absolutely. I'm right there with you, Vin. This was a blast. Thank you so much for watching these, for doing all those in-depth reviews, Vin. Always, always appreciate it. Folks, next week we will be back with a normal program. And, we're going to continue with some new movies because the summer is here. The summer is coming. We're going to do something a little bit different for the new show this coming Tuesday, which will be fun. And we just basically want to set the table for summer. Nice. So, Vin, as always, thank you. Folks at home, we'll run these down one more time. We have Tampopo with a massive, massive 88%. I love that. Babette's Feast with a 70. Big Night with an 83%. Ratatouille with a 78. And The Taste of Things with an 82 and a 2 laces tied. Folks, thank you so much for listening week after week, for checking out and using the website. We appreciate you all so much. And like I said, we'll be back here next week on the Daily Ratings Podcast.
Order up.